Everyone. This is Gabe Nadwick with my Week 2 discussion for MPA 594, my comprehensive exam seminar discussion for Cal Baptist University. And this week's discussion is about some of the theories in a modern day situation. And then also I'll touch on some of the theories that need to be updated and some that are still relevant. So the first section about the theories in the modern day situation, I'll be focusing on law enforcement kind of in general, just because that's the closest to where I currently fall in my career. Two theorists that I'll kind of discuss here are Max Weber and Henri Fayol, and specifically Max Weber's idea of the bureaucracy and how it emphasizes the consistency of the work environment, and especially in law enforcement, the idea of the hierarchy and how that relates to like regular officers, lieutenants, sergeants, things like that. There's a well-defined hierarchy there, and that brings in the whole idea also of his division of labor. Obviously, you're not going to have like a regular patrol officer do something that is really more of a lieutenant's job, that sort of thing. And also, there's very specific rules that are written down that need to be followed for law enforcement officers. The other theorist on this slide that I'll talk about is Henri Fayol, which he talks about those 14 principles of management, and he also stresses the idea of the division of labor, just like Weber. He also stresses the idea of the authority, subordination, and order. And this all definitely relates to law enforcement, the hierarchy, orders. Another point that Phil mentions is the esprit de corps, which obviously law enforcement officers, a lot of them, this is what kind of defines who they are in their personal. Another theorist that's not on the slide, but another one that I just think kind of fits in with this whole idea is Elton Mayo's with idea of the Hawthorne effect and about how people change their behavior when they're watched. This can obviously relate to how subordinates relate to their managers. If they feel that they're being watched or observed by their managers, they might react differently than if they're not. But obviously also just with law enforcement in general, when people feel that law enforcement's around, if they see a police car, it changes how they act or how they're driving, things like that. So it's obviously still relevant today. Another theorist that holds true, obviously, is Mary Parker Follett, with her idea of the power with rather than power over, and her ideas of the reciprocal relationships that she talked about is really integral today, and the whole idea of transformational leadership, which obviously is also defines Michael Scott over here. But Follett's theories are still, like, again, relevant to the workplace, and it also helps just the whole work atmosphere to work together. One theorist that could probably use an update would be Woodrow Wilson's dichotomy, because he talked about how the politicians create the policy and then how the administration implements that policy. But looking through his article, it really stresses the division between the two, not so much that how they're working together, just that it almost seems that they're so separate in his theory. It just needs an update to talk more about how they can work together to achieve the goals. Wilson wrote his article in 1887, which is 4 years after the Pendleton Act, which kind of changed the whole idea of like the merit system and things like that. So at that time, the separation between politics and administration probably seemed like it needed to be more stressed than it does. But now, since we're so far away from the Pendleton Act, it really needs to kind of be more cohesive and less divided than it was in Wilson's theory. Another one that could use an update, going off of Mary Parker Fullett's views of scientific management. Scientific management was obviously a big deal for efficiency in the workplace, but since that's not really where we are today, as far as in some situations we are in like factories and things like that, but in most of the day-to-day, Mary Parker Follett said that scientific management tends to depersonalize orders, and it also makes managers as much under the orders as the workers. So it just needs to be updated that to kind of focus on a specific situation. Obviously, scientific management's not going to work as well in like law enforcement. You're not going to have necessarily that focus on efficiency in the day-to-day role of a law enforcement officer as you are in like a factory worker. So in the words of Max Weber, Danke, thanks for watching, have a great week.